Part 6. Questions. Question. How did Lemuria come to an end? Answer. The small continent of Mu sank back into the ocean near where it had first risen, plus or minus some drifting, yes? In those days, the drifting was more than it is today, as land, Earth, was not quite as fixed as it is today. You may want to think of it somewhat as a mushroom cap on its stalk. See? Very, very steady, but also easily moved or dislocated from its base. Lemuria was then consumed by waves whose journey began on the other side of the globe, and the waves were catastrophic, cataclysmic. The Mu event was part of a cataclysm, but not a great one. In other words, there was no pole reversal. Question. What caused the cataclysm? Answer. A cataclysm is an event of great intensity, yes? In the usual sense, the mantle just beneath the Earth's crust becomes soft enough for land masses to sink. And sinking in one hemisphere causes rising in another. During a cataclysm, then, all land masses tend toward the equator, as it is more stable. But earthquakes and other major consequences would then pull the continents back in the other direction or in another direction. Cataclysms have remarkably little to do with specific life forms. See, it is not a castigation, it is not they got it right, it is not that they are being wiped off of Earth for misdeeds, and that, of course, that is another subject, another time. Cataclysms are natural consequences of celestial bodies, especially those where elements are transformational. Water into ice, air into wind, and like that. And particularly where polarity plays a very large part, as it does with Earth. The cataclysm was caused by the close passing of a celestial object, a small moon unmoored from a far distant world. The small moon passed between the Earth and her moon, our moon, close enough to Earth to have a cataclysmic effect, but not devastating enough to affect all life of Earth. As a result, the Hawaiian volcanic chain was reactivated, as was the entire chain called the Ring of Fire. Lava spewed forth for many months, but it was localized. It did not disrupt life everywhere on the planet. Island-sized land rose and fell in the Indian Ocean and the South Seas, but eventually settled to approximately what is there now. The many islands of that area were larger then than they are now, but the ocean has reclaimed some of the land it once offered for use. Question. Did anything happen to the moon because of that event? Answer. No, but some debris did make it onto the lunar surface. It gives rise to speculation that there were once two moons, and that one or both were brought to Earth. Certainly you have heard this. In terms of celestial bodies, collisions are not uncommon. At some point, Earth's gravity may capture another moon. Question. Where was Lemuria located? Answer. Roughly between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn in the Pacific Ocean, within eventual human reach of Polynesia, Malaysia, Indonesia, Maya land in Central America, and other island territories. Question. What did Lemurian society value most? Answer. Although the continent was large, it was sparsely populated based on today's standards. It had the longevity to be called a civilization, but the pockets where people lived were not large enough to develop what we would call a society. Later, as the survivors of Lemuria integrated with other cultures, the traits that made them unique were able to shine, to come through, yes? Lemurians were family-oriented in what you would call extended families in the truest sense of the term. Families did not begin or end. Everyone was related in some way, or at least considered themselves so. It was, by all accounts, an inclusive culture. For instance, they did not reject misfits, yes? They put up with them. They rotated jobs or living arrangements for them, helped them, or even ignored them if need be to complete a task. But they did not reject them. They valued community. They did not have long-term memory. So shared experiences created a series of short-term shared memories that they could all relate to, retelling their daily activities and whom they had shared the day with over an evening meal reinforced their memory habit as well as their relationships. And this is not uncommon. Retelling your day over an evening meal is still practiced all over the world. Question. What caused the downfall of the civilization? Answer. Lemurians did not contribute to their own demise. Their harmless activities were of little concern. Not all civilizations are given to rise to greatness, prominence, or to fall by fatal mistakes, misdeeds. All continents are not equal, not just in size, but as measured by the thickness of earth crust. Larger continents have a thicker crust. Smaller continents have thinner. They are more likely to sink whole rather than to break apart. There is more to this than plate tectonics as it is studied now, but that will come later to those who become interested in subjects. Question. Please describe what Lemurians looked like. Answer. They were small in stature, perhaps among the smallest of the developing races. The taller, lighter-skinned races came later, when Earth received genetic contributions from elsewhere, from off-planet, yes? Lemurians were clay-colored, not just red-orange clay, but yellow-orange, orange-brown, and red-brown. They were the color of warm stone, yes? Warm, flagstone, warm-colored stone. If they were standing still in front of a large stone, they might go unnoticed. They were not thin. You might call them stocky. They were strong, but not muscular in appearance, with very dark eyes. They had thick black hair that grew very quickly, but they had no facial or body hair. A thicker nose, an average forehead, rounded cheeks, and a smaller jawline. Perhaps that will do. Attractive peoples, yes, you would see likeness to them still in the Malaysian and the Indonesian peoples, and the Balis and the Javas and like that. Question. Do most of us that are alive today have Lemurian lifetimes? Answer. This is a delicate question. Here we must take more care so as not to sound ambiguous with an answer that is truly yes, no, maybe, it doesn't matter, or it didn't count. Let's begin with a simple and rather silly example. Assume you are sitting in a life review type of session with your guides or companions. As you prepare to share your thoughts and memories with others, you might order them by what you learned or explored or accomplished. All of your adventures would eventually come forward, but as an example, it is not likely that you would prioritize having visited Disney World once or twice in that life. Because while entertaining, it was likely not a life-changing affair, see? Now, a trip to a casino or a brothel might earn a higher rank, because there you might have learned more to do with human nature. See? This is simply an example. It is not a rule, of course, only an unskilled, impromptu example. Perhaps you will forgive its coarseness. Lemurians had not yet developed consciousness to a degree that would increase the size or depth of a soul. Therefore, based on who you are today and what you are hoping to attain by the culmination of this life, a Lemurian lifetime, even several lifetimes, might not be memorable. It would not move the consciousness needle, so to speak. Lemurian lifetimes were foundational. So if you were stacking lifetimes one on top of another as if they were stones, you would want a stable base. You might consider a peaceful nature an important base layer, or a leaning toward community-mindedness before you stacked a trait such as selfishness to overcome. On top of that, see, it would be more precarious to begin with selfishness and then attempt to stack community-mindedness on that. You might see that it could topple, see, or be unstable, unbalanced. See, it is only an example. These, then, soul assets would be helpful to have early on. So while Lemurian lifetimes cannot offer that to you in the form of consciousness, a term and what you are seeking now in very great order of importance, because consciousness had not developed yet, not as you understand it, not as a spiritual resource that one can cultivate, see? But it did then have a response at your cellular level the part of you that makes you what you are when you are earth or earthbound or earth body. Therefore, if you have that, if you have this ability, if you have this cellular Lemurian energy, cellular memory, that is where it is located. Now, remember what was said earlier. Only 2 of the Lemurian family of beings were able to be lifted into consciousness, or its ability, the ability of consciousness to rise of its own working accord. See? And from that, only a small amount of beings survived the cataclysm, the sinking. Those beings then carried their culture and their bloodline into the future, into forward movement, yes? So if you have it, that is where your Lemurian heritage is. Consciousness and evolution develop separately, yet they depend completely on one another. And so it is for you. Your evolution as a human being is very important. Therefore, how you care for your body and your mind, your skills and like that is very important. And then how you develop your consciousness from life to life, keeping it alive, nurturing it, encouraging it, surrounding it with other consciousness and growth. These 2 contribute to all that you are, to all that is the earth, and in a sense, it is well put to say that your future depends on it, as does the future of the earth. Yes, a fine ending then, yes, a fine conclusion. Very well, very well. Until next time.